Each year, several hundred companies amend their Form 10K. Why do they do it? Today on Zippy Point. I'm Brock Romanek, and I'm a big fan of yous. Each year, around 400 companies feel the need to amend their Form 10K. Before we dig into the reasons why they do it, let's quickly go over some of the legal requirements. One, the cover page. So Rule 12b-15 here denotes that the cover page must brand the filing with a Form 10K/A at the top. Companies typically also indicate how many times that particular 10K has been amended underneath. For example, amendment number 1, amendment number 2. So here's an example for a second amendment. Otherwise, the cover page looks the same for an original 10K as the amended 10K, except most companies actually update the number of common stock, shares of common stock that are outstanding as of a most practicable date. 2, the explanatory note. Then the page after the cover page indicates why the amendment is being filed. This example is for the second amendment being filed due to a restatement. And here's an example of a note to explain why they're correcting a signature page. 3, piecemeal updating. So amendments must set forth the complete text of each item amended. That's in Rule 12b-15. So you aren't required to include the full boat of all the items in the Form 10K for those items that are not touched, although you can do that voluntarily if you wish. So you might even have an exhibits only filing on your hands if you're only making a change to one or more exhibits. You indicate that it's exhibit only in that explanatory note, and then you just tweak the exhibit index and include the amended exhibit as an actual exhibit. And here's an example of that. 4, date of which the amendment speaks. Should companies update all their disclosure when they amend their Form 10K? Well, I'm not aware of any CorpFin SEC staff authority for the belief that you do. Many practitioners argue that an amended filing speaks as of the original filing date. The fact that you're allowed to update only just pieces of the 10K seems to me to back up that belief. So I recommend that you include in your explanatory note something that clearly states that the 10K is not being updated entirely. An example, something like this. The reason why you would want to include this kind of note that's voluntary is that you want to limit any potential liability or any idea of any plaintiff that might want to come after you alleging that the amended 10K was misleading because it suggested that everything in the original 10K had been brought current as of the date you filed the amended 10K. 5, signature. The amendment is only required to be signed by a duly authorized officer, one, of the company, as stated in Rule 12b-15, and then this CorpFin staff interpretation also bolsters that point. So unlike the original 10K where you have both the CEO and CFO, they're required to sign as well as a majority of the board, although you can do that by power of attorney. So here with an amended 10K, it can just be one authorized officer, and it's typically either the CEO or the CFO. But sometimes the companies will go ahead and use their powers of attorney to go ahead and sign on behalf of all the directors and both officers as well. That's voluntary. 6, CEO, CFO certification. So I have a separate Vid-Guide about when you're required to amend your CEO, CFO certifications. A link to that Vid-Guide is beneath this video. But the upshot is that for an amended 10K, you're going to always need to file a new set of Section 302 CEO, CFO certifications for the amended 10K. Those are the certs required by the SEC's rules. But you only need a new set of the Section 906 certifications, the ones required by the Department of Justice, if the financials have changed at all. So the Section 302 certs might be permitted to be abbreviated if there are no financials, but you still need to include them in the amended 10K. So go ahead and see that Vid-Guide, a link to which is beneath, for what these abbreviated certifications for Section 302 certs look like if you have no financials in your amended 10K. So if you have to amend your 10K, even if it's an exhibits only filing, you still need to file at least an abbreviated set of Section 302 certs. That's even if only the CEO or only the CFO is actually signing the 10K itself, you still need a 302 cert from both those officers. So here's an example of a good explanatory note that's used to explain that the Section 906 certifications aren't included in the amended 10K, but the 302 ones are. And this kind of thing is fairly standard when 10Ks are amended. They have this in the explanatory notes. Okay, so let's dig into the reasons why the 10Ks get amended in the first place. Audit Analytics does an annual blog with a survey of the reasons for the past year, the statistics. And here's what the latest looks like. So the number one reasons is always that a company originally omitted Part 3 information from the Form 10K in reliance on General Instruction G3 of 10K, meaning that the original 10K was intended to incorporate by reference from the proxy to satisfy the items of item 3 of 10K. But the company finds out later after the fact that they're going to be unable to file the definitive proxy prior to the 120 days after the fiscal year end, that deadline as noted in General Instruction G3. So meaning the 10K is filed, Part 3 information is there's just a cross-reference, forward-looking cross-reference, incorporating by reference. The proxy can't be filed 120 days after the fiscal year end, and so before that 120th day rolls around, you file this amendment to the 10K to get that information in there. So about half the amended 10Ks that get filed every year is due to this reason. It's a fairly common reason. Under this CorpFin staff interpretation, you see what I mentioned before, that you want to get this Part 3 information in the amended 10K prior to the 120-day deadline, not afterwards, in order to maintain the company's status as a timely filer under the 34 Act. So here's an example of what an explanatory note looks like when you're filing an amended 10K for this reason. Other minor administrative reasons why 10K amendments get filed: you make a filing of your original 10K, but you forget some signatures or you forget some exhibits. This is the second most common reason for filing amended 10K. These are typographical and inconsequential errors. You just need maybe a tweak to something on your cover page. You did the cover page wrong. If you botched your CEO, CFO certifications in the original 10K, or maybe you botched the auditor's consent, now you're gonna have to file an amended 10K. And of course, there could be substantive reasons why you're filing an amended 10K. The third most common reason, according to the survey for last year, was to include financials for a significant subsidiary or an equity method investee. Or you might be just restating your financials for the parent. That would require an amended 10K. And it actually might be one of those reasons why you're filing an amendment to your 10K more than once. You want to be filing a second one. You might need to amend your 10K to make changes to your auditor's report. Or maybe you're needing to tweak your MD&A, or you have an internal or disclosure controls problem, a material weakness development. Or you could have redacted information in your original 10K because you wanted to keep that information confidential, but the SEC staff has decided to pull your filing for review, has analyzed your reasons for keeping that information confidential, disagree with you, and then you need to go ahead and amend your 10K to disclose what you originally redacted. Anyways, let me know what you think.